In this video, we're going to be talking about class consciousness, why it's important, and what it means for Black people within the community. So let's start by defining what class consciousness is. It refers to the awareness of one's social class and its associated interests, particularly in relation to other classes within society. So, for example, the hip hop community is a part of the ruling class. Over the last 25 years, they have dominated. They are the face of Black culture, and a lot of them are extremely rich, while the remainder of Black people are a part of the working class. So, within the context of the mirror principle, as above, so below, como arriba es abajo, you will understand that there is ultimately a distinction between the way that Black people who are able to participate in the ruling class, how they understand their Blackness, and then how Black people who are a part of the working class, how they then understand their Black identity. The concept is oftentimes linked to Marxist theory, which argues that for significant social and political change to occur, that members of the working class must recognize their shared position and interest as distinct from the ruling class. A prime example of class consciousness is the Brokey Challenge that we saw a lot of people participating in. That what we have to recognize as the third generation is that there are ultimately people within the Black community who are our age, who are the who are able to then participate within the ruling class in a way that we can't because of this idea of class struggle. And so, as a result, the way that they understand themselves as Black people in relation to us is different because they live their lives completely separate from how we do. Another example of this top down, bottom approach is that a lot of the wealth accumulates in the hands of the Black traditionalists, and they are usually typically cisgendered and male. And so we as Mukimne then have to create a narrative of our experience as Black people that is then distinct and separate from the people within the ruling class, especially the traditionalists, so that way we can do the collective work to understand what it means for us to be gender nuanced people within this historical context. Class consciousness involves recognizing economic inequalities and understanding the dynamics of power and exploitation, and fostering solidarity amongst individuals within the same class to then pursue common goals. Gender nuanced people are then typically structured at the bottom because the traditionalists deem our lived experiences to be inferior. Since Black traditionalism is an understanding of Blackness, right, it creates this psychological plantation that we then get the brunt of because a lot of gender nuanced Black people are then left not only outside of the collective, but we're also left outside of our own Black families by our traditionalist parents or our traditionalist households that we then grow up in, which then exacerbates this class struggle, that exacerbates this class inequality that we then experience. As millennials, as Gen Alpha, as millennials, as Gen Zers, we recognize that we ultimately need a green leaf forward, but simultaneously we recognize that the solidarity that we need may not come from the ruling class because a lot of the times they are culturally identified with their wealth. They're culturally identified with this idea of Black excellence. Since the concept of being seen as real and being seen as Black excellence is tied to their wealth and not the preservation of the people, it then leads to this Afro pessimism that people who are structured at the bottom begin to experience.